It was all-out war in an Uber over a mask. 3 women are hassling the driver because he says one of them refused to wear a mask. Watch as she does the unthinkable, coughing on the driver. Then the irate woman grabs his phone and rips off his mask.
You don't touch my property!
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry. I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We're talking about the most scariest and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos, TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank all my seekers, man. It's coming back to the channel, watching the videos entirely, man. Comment it down below. Greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Dumbest Deaths, part 122. When workers in a Texas warehouse smelled gas, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They turned off the power and every single light in the building and then evacuated. After this, 2 technicians from the gas company arrived and they wanted to go in the building and see what was going on. As they wandered around the building, they realised that they couldn't see anything. This is when one of the gas technicians pulled out a lighter. One explosion later and both were unalived.
You guys have to watch this creepy video.
I'm going for a walk and I look up and I see my neighbors.
Like, what? The lights flickering and all of them turning to her at the same time is just so creepy. But I think the creepiest part is that this is the one and only video she's posted, and she hasn't posted for 2 weeks. This is her account. The last time she posted was October 14th, I believe. So this begs the question, is this person okay? Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section.
The Cheeto Dust Killer. February 9th, 2006. A witness watches a man in Taylorsville, Utah hold a bottle of Coke and a bag of Cheetos as he talks to 29-year-old Sonia Medja outside of her apartment. Suddenly, the man smacks Sonia hard on the head and forces both of them into the apartment. When Sonia's husband comes home, he finds the man's food outside the door. Inside the apartment, he finds Sonia stripped nude and strangled to death on the bed, and her body covered in Cheeto dust. Let's fast forward to February 9th, the same day, but a year later and only a mile away from the previous crime. An unknown man breaks into the apartment of Damiana Castillo and smothers her with a pillow. The investigators compared the 2 crimes and matched the DNA to the same man. Unfortunately, the judge has sealed the case, so the verdict is unknown. But what we do know is that police found the man who we call...
We need to talk about this photo. This is what showed up in Emma's house over and over again, asking her the same question every time. The first time Emma saw this creature, she was in 4th grade. She heard a loud noise in her bedroom, followed by faint scratching sounds. She jumped out of her bed and tried to run into her mom's room, and that's when she saw it. Slowly, it moved towards her, its mouth stretching wide open, asking her one question. How old are you? Emma told this creature her age, and it replied, not yet. But the terrifying thing is, this creature came back over and over again. No matter where she moved, every 4 years this creature would appear in Emma's house. Her mother never believed her, saying it was just a recurring nightmare. But Emma knew something was targeting her, waiting for the right moment. And on the night before her 18th birthday, she was proven right. That night, this creature appeared again, but this time it said something different. It asked Emma, how old are you? And she replied 17. The creature then stood silently before croaking out the words, next time. Emma turns 21 soon, and she's been up every night, paranoid and terrified that any time now she'll find out exactly what the creature meant when it said next time. Like and follow for more.
Surgery.
So what? It just kept like following and following her? Is that based off like a movie or TV show or something like that? That's kind of the vibe I was getting. I don't know. What do you guys think, seekers?
In the 1800s was fucking insane. Literally no anesthesia, no fucking drugs. You was awake while motherfuckers was chopping you up. One of the professional choppers, Robert Liston, was literally one of the fastest surgeons, which is good because you obviously want that shit to be over with fast. One day he was working so fast on a patient that he accidentally cut off 2 of his assistant's fingers. Both the patient and his assistant later died of gangrene. Oh, that's not all. Also, during the procedure, he accidentally swiped his blade past one of the elderly doctor's coats. The elderly doctor thought he was cut and literally went into shock and had a heart attack. So this motherfucker literally killed 3 people trying to save 1.
These are some
crazy.
extreme, and we know so little about it, and something about that doesn't sit right with me. Now, if you didn't like hearing those, I'm sorry, but that's
one of the Marines died. Felipe Calderon, the president, gave him this hero's funeral to the Marine who died. Afterwards, some gunmen went to the wake of the Marine in his hometown and murdered the mother, the sister.
Have you ever wondered how accurate police sketches are? I'm going to show you someone who committed a crime and then a sketch, and we're going to see. And this is a series, so follow along for more. So in 1971, John List annihilated his entire family. John had recently lost his job, but for a while he was pretending that he still had a job. He would leave his house in the mornings, but would spend the whole day just reading and not being at work. He knew his family would eventually catch on, so on November 9th, very slowly and methodically, one by one, he took the lives of his mother, his wife, and all 3 of his children. And then he disappeared to start a new life. That is, until 18 years later, when Frank Bender, a police sketch artist, debuted this clay bust of what he thought John would look like at this time on America's Most Wanted. He age progressed John 18 years from the last time he had been seen, and he even got his glasses right. The bust was so accurate that a man named Robert Clark would be arrested in Denver because his neighbors called in a tip to the FBI. John had been living under that name for 18 years.
It was all-out war in an Uber over a mask. 3 women are hassling the driver because he says one of them refused to wear a mask. Watch as she does the unthinkable, coughing on the driver. Then the irate woman grabs his phone and rips off his mask.
You don't touch my property!
The driver says he even drove them to a gas station so she could buy a mask when they first got into his vehicle.
I never said anything bad to them. I never cursed.
So, who is the woman in question? We've learned she has dozens of modeling pictures on Instagram. Today, she is apparently admitting her outrageous behavior.
All I did was take his mask off and cough a little bit. Lucky as hell I ain't have nothing on me.
She claims the driver was trying to force them out of the car. Police are investigating the incident.
Since yeah, of course you probably try to force you out the car. You trying to hit him? Coughing on him too? Nobody wants to deal with that. Just be like, Connie, can you exit my vehicle, man? Man. Simple as that. People would be crazy, man. They're so entitled.
So many people are going crazy over the new Jeffrey Dahmer series on Netflix. Let me tell you the actual story. Jeffrey Dahmer was born in 1960. He had a pretty normal childhood until he started to become withdrawn. During high school, he started drinking. And over time, it started to become a real problem. His first murder was when he was 18 in high school. He picked up a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks, and when Stephen decided that he wanted to leave, Dahmer murdered him. He dissected him and scattered his remains all over the backyard. And he didn't kill anyone until 9 years later. All his murders, he took Polaroids of. He was into necrophilia, cannibalism, and so much more. When he was caught, he was charged with 15 murder cases, and he was charged with 957 total years in prison. When he was caught, they found 7 skulls all over his apartment, and he confessed to not only killing but eating his victims. In prison, he was attacked multiple times by other inmates, but the thing that ended his life was when he was attacked by an inmate and murdered for what he did. He didn't die on impact, but he died on the way to the hospital. The Netflix show tells you all of this with more detailed information.
On March 5th, 2013, Shirai Mawera and her boyfriend Lovemore Muzarabani left the main road they had been walking down, and they headed out into the bush near Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe. They were headed to a specific spot. It was this beautiful clearing that the two actually went to frequently, and it was a spot where it was very private, and that was good because they like to use this spot to express their love for each other in a physical way. So when they got there, the two of them removed their clothing, and they became intimate with each other. Now, at some point, they were laying on the ground in a spooning position when Lovemore, the boyfriend, hears from right behind him this loud roar coming from the bushes. And he immediately ceases what he's doing and he jumps up right as Shirai is beginning to kind of sit up This huge male lion comes bursting out of the brush and just tackles Shirai, pinning her to the ground. Lovemore, the boyfriend, he just takes off running. He runs till he gets kind of to the edge of the clearing, and then he realizes, okay, I just abandoned my girlfriend to this animal. And he turns around and he looks, but he can no longer hear Shirai screaming. In fact, the only noise he can hear is the noise of this giant lion tearing into his girlfriend while it's still got it pinned underneath her. So, not knowing what else to do, he just runs through the woods as fast as he can, completely naked, till he gets back to the main road they walked in on, where he tries to flag down some traffic, some passersby. But nobody is stopping to help him because they think he's mentally ill. Here you have this guy kind of out a little bit far away from town. He's wearing absolutely no clothes. He's completely nude, and he's just frantically trying to wave down cars. Eventually, some folks do stop. They hear what he has to say. They take him to the nearest police station where he tells them what happened. They get park rangers, and then police and park rangers go out to this clearing where he tells them that it's at. When they get there, the lion is still there. It's eating Shirai. She's clearly deceased. Her throat has been ripped out and her stomach has been ripped open. They take a shot at the lion. They miss the lion. And then they launch a hunt for this lion. Now, shortly after launching this hunt on that same day, they came across more human remains not belonging to Shirai. They came across a hand, part of a hip, and a full human skull. And it was obvious whoever these remains belonged to had just been killed very recently. It turns out that the night before, a 77-year-old man named Musinji had been walking home late at night when apparently this lion, or one of these lions, had grabbed him off the path, drug him out into the woods, and then he was almost completely consumed. A few days later, park rangers would locate 3 different lions that they think were responsible. They shot all 3 of them. I believe it was 2 males and a female. One of the lions had marks around its neck from a human snare, and it didn't look healthy, so that's why they think this started. It is unknown how many people those lions actually killed and ate.
Let's talk about the outrageous Korean-New Zealand children's suitcase tragedy. A case where a New Zealand family purchased abandoned suitcases in an online auction. After they purchased them, they were horrified to find out what they found inside. 2 children's bodies, probably between ages 6 through 10. Now, the terrible part about this case is that the main suspect is the children's mother. So this terrible act was concluded to have happened around 2018. So the primary suspect, the mother that you see behind me, was a woman who had settled down in New Zealand. She was originally from Korea. She married another Korean New Zealand man. However, her husband passed away sometime around 2017 or 2016. Mysteriously and coincidentally, the mother left New Zealand in 2018. Remember, the crime was concluded to have happened around 2018 as well. So, after this family purchased the abandoned suitcases, they reported it to the authorities. Then, the New Zealand authorities cooperated with South Korean authorities to track the mother down. Members of the South Korean public helped a lot in tracking the mother down. People called into the police, letting the police know that they feel like they saw someone who fit the mother's description. Combined with that, the police checked her family background and also made use of security camera footage to ultimately locate her in Ulsan, South Korea. Remember guys, in South Korea these days, there are cameras everywhere in the public. Now it's concluded that the mother, after leaving her children in a suitcase in New Zealand, went to Seoul, South Korea, but also went to Ulsan, South Korea after. I think she tried taking some jobs here and there. Some believe that she was obviously hiding. Now, when questioned by reporters, the mother simply said, "I didn't do it." Now, here's what's terrible about this case. If you assume that the New Zealand family found the children in the bag since they were put in there, that could have been for a span of about 4 years. But the bodies would have been there for several years. That is tragedy-inducing for the people who discovered it. So what happens next? Well, South Korea and New Zealand have an extradition treaty, meaning that under certain conditions, they can extradite this woman from South Korea to New Zealand and probably investigate and try her there. So right now in Korea, they're going to investigate the case and eventually have some sort of process or hearing for whether or not they should extradite the mother back to New Zealand. Anyways, I think a lot of you have probably heard about this case by now, but I think it's another example in which the public knowing about these things can help solve.
This is a true horrifying story, part 25. Warning, this is not a joke. The information that's going to be shared is dangerous and life-threatening. Do not, under any circumstance, commit the actions that will be narrated. This is the world's most dangerous book ever, Shams al-Ma'arif. This book was written by Ahmed al-Buni in the 17th century. But technically, the author of this book is not a human being. I never did and will never read this book. And this is your second warning. Do not read this book. Ahmed al-Buni practiced black magic, and he was in contact with the most powerful jinns and demons before he passed away. The jinns were the authors of this book. The elder generations, like our moms and dads, have heard about this book and they were warned by it. There are thousands of horrifying stories of people who read this book. Shams al-Ma'arif explains everything about black magic, how to get in touch with the world of jinns, how to marry a jinn, and the sacrifices you have to do for the devil, and much more. Unfortunately, this book can be easily found online. One day, a Saudi Arabian man that read hundreds of books for a living decided to read this book specifically out of interest and love for all books, without fearing the consequences behind it. He reached the chapter that teaches readers how to get married to a female jinn. He laughed about it. He tried the ritual to experiment it. The first night after finishing the whole book and completing the marriage ritual, he felt someone breathing next to his face. And on the second night, he felt a hand touching his feet. And on the third night, he heard her voice. The man was officially locked in a marriage with a demon. 5 years go by. He met a normal, beautiful woman that he fell in love with, and they both decided to get married. A week before the wedding day, the bride, the bride's parents, and the groom's parents all pass and die in 3 different car crashes. These are the consequences behind this book. And it's also known from many stories of people that have died from reading the first few pages. If you don't finish reading the book, you will get killed. All my stories, all of them, are true incidents that happened one time only. But this book is a product that is permanently available online. I beg you, do not go anywhere near Shams al-Ma'arif. This video is to educate you on the dangers behind this book. Do not go anywhere close to the world of jinns.
I won't. I take heed of his warning.
Women in the streets of London are disappearing, and it seems like nobody's doing anything about it. This is the stalking and capture of Zara Alina. And her whole video is on my profile link, so go to my profile, click on the link. It's
at 9 a.m. on July 14, 2012, friends Benjamin Linden and Ryan Solis were surfing near Wedge Island in a bay locally known as Dolphins off the coast of Western Australia. They were right next to another young man named Matt Holmes, who was on a jet ski towing another surfer out to catch waves. And the two, Ryan and Benjamin, were sitting about 100 meters offshore. They were just sitting there waiting to catch the next big wave when Ryan looks off into the water, and beneath him he sees this huge dark shape swimming along the ocean floor. And he immediately recognizes what it is, and he yells over at Benjamin, "We have to go in now." So they start paddling towards shore when all of a sudden this massive 5-meter long great white shark comes rocketing to the surface. It almost breaches right next to Ryan, right on his right side, so close that the spray from its gills sprays all over Ryan. And then the shark goes out in front of his board, off in front of him to the left. It wheels around and it charges at Ryan. And when it gets about a meter away from Ryan, thankfully the shark breaks off its attack, it veers away, but unfortunately it heads straight for Ben, who's about 15 to 30 meters away at this point. Now Ryan, he's actually able to catch like 2 waves that bring him most of the way into shore, but Ben isn't so lucky. And as the shark approaches, Benjamin, he gets his legs up on his board to get him out of the water, and it looks like he's getting ready to kick this shark if he needs to defend himself. But unlike the shark did with Ryan, this shark does not veer away. It comes lunging out of the water, and it grabs Benjamin by the legs, and it just drags him off of his board. Now, Matt Holmes, the guy on the jet ski, he's watching this whole thing take place, so he tows his mate into shore as fast as he can. He turns around, he speeds back out there to try and help, and when he gets to Benjamin's body, Benjamin is lying face down in the water. One of his legs has been completely removed, torn off at the hip. The other one has been removed about halfway down, and he's just lying there face down. Now, the shark is circling Benjamin's body, but Matt, he wants to retrieve Benjamin even though he knows he can't really save him. He wants to retrieve him, so he goes to reach for him, but this shark comes barreling up in between the jet ski and Benjamin's body, and it rams the jet ski. Matt said it was almost like the shark was trying to ram him off of the jet ski. So Matt, he circles back around, makes another attempt, but before he gets back, the shark comes up, it grabs Ben's body, and it dives down with it. Matt would go back to shore, he would grab Brian, the two of them would go out, and they would search for Benjamin's body. They would call 000, authorities would come out, a 3-day search was launched, nothing was ever found except for the surfboard with a big bite taken out of it. Benjamin was only 24 at the time he was killed by the shark.
Trust strangers you meet on vacation. When Ben and Louise Dalton take a trip to Italy with their daughter Agnes, they befriend a charming British family that persuades them to visit their remote country estate in England. And the Daltons are hesitant to accept the invitation at first, but they decide it might just be the trip they need. But once they get to Patty and Kira's remote, secluded farmstead, far away from anyone and everything they've ever known, Ben, Louise, and Agnes discover that who they thought this British family was on vacation isn't exactly who they are at home. And over the course of the trip, they spot several red flags, but each time Patty assures them that there is good reason for his unique behavior. But when the daughter Agnes discovers that something evil is about to happen to the family, they've had enough. But it might just be too late. But if you want to know what happens next, you'll need to check out Speak No Evil in theaters now.
Okay,
that's based off the movie.
Die in 8 minutes? Okay, so the sun may have exploded and we wouldn't even know it for at least 8 minutes. Light from the sun takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to hit Earth. Meaning if the sun suddenly blew up, we actually wouldn't know for that period of time. This is because light travels faster than anything else and we wouldn't be able to hear an explosion from space. While this can cause a lot of anxiety, our sun will never explode. It doesn't have enough mass to create a supernova. A star needs to have a mass of 10 times that of our sun in order for it to explode. If the sun were to explode, it would take around 134 days for the shockwave to reach Earth. But the neutrinos and radiation travel at the speed of light and would reach us in 8 minutes and we would all die. So realistically, we can all die in 8 minutes at any given time in our life, because we would have no idea that the sun exploded in that time. This is extremely scary, not only because we would all die, but because it's completely out of anyone's control.
Celebrities who changed their looks after becoming the famous Doja Cat.
It's like
Before.
peekaboo to like what's next. So like once you see it from the front, like
And nah.
who made it? Wow. Wow. Okay, so something a little different. So what was your inspiration for tonight? Wow. Wow. Wow.
Sam Smith.
Before. You would have thought the more that you travel, the more okay you get with flying, but I'm finding it really hot.
And nah.
This is crazy.
Melanie Martinez. Before. And nah.
This is a sneak peek that nobody knows about. So people have been asking about the Crybaby perfume restock, and we can't do that just because the manufacturer doesn't exist anymore.
So these videos of Diddy with Justin Bieber when he was only 15 years old are resurfacing, and the one thing that I want to ask is, why was a 40-year-old hanging around with a 15-year-old? Why did no one think that was an issue or a red flag? And also, listen to what he says in this clip.
they're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So yeah, and we gonna go full crazy.
I'm going crazy.
Crazy.
I'm taking this out tonight.
What you want to do? What you want to do over the next 48 hours?
This is literally the definition of grooming, and Justin, who was only 15 here, he was new to the industry and definitely very impressionable. Now that all these new allegations of Diddy have been exposed, it makes watching this video so much more disturbing. Now, this next video of Justin Bieber with Trey Songz and Odell Beckham years ago at one of Diddy's parties is questionable. I'm not gonna say anything, but you let me know what you think you saw down here.
Top 5 most Christian.
This Diddy case, bro. I keep saying, man, it's gonna get way more uglier, bro, man. Because I feel like anybody who's connected doing those things with him, man, they all gonna be going down with them. Damn, but imagine being that young 15, you like new in the industry, you don't know what the heck is going on, and like you hanging out with Diddy. I mean, at the time nobody knew, but we have no idea what I guess what transpired in those 48 hours. It's wild to think about. Do you guys think who else is gonna get exposed, man, being connected to Diddy, bro? We got the mayor of New York, he got to get exposed too, so this is insane.
Christian countries in the world by highest percentage of Christian adherents. Russia 73.6, United States 79.5, Brazil 90.2, Philippines 93.1, Mexico 95.
These are the top 5 craziest things revealed by this year's unprecedented global droughts. So at number 5 is the creepy hunger stones in Germany and Czech Republic. They were used to mark desperately low river levels and forecast famines. This one from 1616 says, "If you see me, cry." In 4th place is Hitler's Black Sea Fleet, which sank in 1944. A whopping 10,000 explosive devices were found hidden within the exposed wreckages. In 3rd place, we've seen the extreme drought over in China reveal 3 ancient Buddha statues that are estimated to be over 600 years old. In 2nd place, and moving over to the USA, the droughts in Texas have revealed unbelievably well-preserved dinosaur footprints that date back more than 100 million years. And then the number 1 wildest thing that these droughts are exposing is a whole lot of dead bodies. And there's been reports of dead bodies being found in drying lakes around the world, but none more than in Lake Mead near Las Vegas. So far, there has been 4 separate discoveries, one of which was the body of a man found crammed inside a rusting metal barrel. Experts are predicting that dozens, if not hundreds more, might be found.
What the hell's going on in Lake Mead?
A gang of vicious otters attacked an innocent jogger and left her hospitalized. The 8 hungry beasts charged through a recreation park looking for...
You'll nearly get packed up by a group of otters. I see a lot of comments saying that, you know, making fun of the woman, and you know me, I'm not going to miss a chance to spread the gospel on this malicious, mame-happy tooth warrior with teeth. Y'all know about the honey badger, an aggressive bull-cut bully weasel, a certified felony ferret with an alleged affinity for ball biting, a homicidal mobile Oreo that fades venomous snakes as a side hustle. Call it an erectile dysfunction the way they could put a snake out of order. There was one honey badger who nearly got census subtracted by a group of lions, spent weeks in an animal ER just to get released and immediately try to run it back fresh out. We've been with this bush weasel as a literal manifestation of a walking middle finger, but imagine if they were a little more intelligent, ran in packs, and could run fades on land or water. Well, I just described why you otter put respect on this furry halo effect of salt sausage. Otters are in the same family as wolverines and honey badgers. They're just social and considered more intelligent. And believe me, a river otter on its own is already a cell block D menace. I couldn't even tell you what crimes getting committed here. And they're a whole lot less cute when you've seen them massacre a monkey at a zoo. That is a Jujutsu Kaisen level jumping with a waterboarding for dessert. Then you got the fact that otters in the Amazon can grow to 6 feet long, and I'm an honest 5'11". And you can kind of see how a hydrodynamic hood-affiliated honey badger can attitude adjust a jaguar. Look at that, all gas, just in reverse, dead ass like a donkey in a hearse. So before you go making fun of this woman, understand that gang violence is not a laughing matter, especially when it's otter mafia.
These are 8 horrifying facts that will probably
You was spitting, bro.
Sometimes you laugh, talk, and cry in sleep. It's often a spirit sitting beside you in bed.
You are more likely to be bitten by someone in New York than to be bitten by a shark. The human head remains conscious for 20 seconds after being decapitated. If you search up this number on Google, you'll find people with their heads in fridges. Gelatin is made out of bones. That's right. The melted marshmallow in your hot chocolate is melted animal bone. It's good stuff. You have no way of really knowing if everyone experiences reality and consciousness the same way you do. If a panda finds a fresh carcass, they'll eat it. And last but not least, your phone is likely spying on you right now as you're watching this. Yeah, there's a lot more. Like for part 8.
Yeah, we need that part 8, bro. I don't need my phone spying on me, man.
The theory is the Teletubbies are based on a group of mentally ill children that were abused and killed in a Bulgarian mental facility, infamously known as La La Land in the 1960s. Each Teletubby character is based on one of these unfortunate children. Lala was inspired by a child who suffered from a severe facial disfigurement that forced her to smile constantly. Her unsettling appearance and tragic life were softened into the playful, happy character seen on the show. Tinky Winky represents a deaf child who was cruelly tied to a fence outside the facility, left to suffer in the freezing cold until he developed severe frostbite. His tragic story was turned into that of the large purple Teletubby, known for carrying a bag that seems to symbolize his isolation. Dipsy was based on a malnourished child who was so sick that he spent days lying in his own vomit, forgotten by the facility's staff. His pale green color and slightly sickly demeanor in the show are said to reflect this horrifying past. Pope, the smallest and reddest of the Teletubbies, was actually inspired by a child who fell into a fire, resulting in severe burns that permanently scarred her, hence why her Teletubby color is red.
Hey man, the Teletubby theories, bro. No one watching these clips together, man. How this media we be consuming it be based on like some true stories, dark stories as well. So we can't throw out that theory. Probably some truth behind it as well.
Here are 3 of the most disturbing facial reconstructions and the chilling backstories behind them. But before we get started, I did make a YouTube channel for everybody who requested. If you want to subscribe, the link is right in the bio. Alright, let's get into it. Number 1. The Irondequoit Jane Doe. Found buried in a shallow grave in New York State, the manner of death was ruled as suspicious, but there were no signs of trauma found on her body. Once found, her remains were so badly decomposed that it's suspected she may have been buried there for up to 30 years before being uncovered. Number 2. The Philadelphia teen. Discovered to have been shot and possibly burned, his remains were found near the railroad tracks in Philadelphia in 1977, and he was the victim of a horrific homicide. To this day, he has never had any friends or family that have come forward to claim his identity, and he remains unknown. Number 3. The Swimsuit Boy. He is one of the only unidentified bodies to come from the Dean Coral serial killings. Discovered buried beneath the shed, among others, his remains were wearing a multicolored swimsuit, hence the name. And it's not at all that this is a bad reconstruction. It's actually unsettling to me because it's pretty good. When you're looking at it, it's almost like the eyes are looking right back at you. It's that realistic. But what makes it all that more eerie is that it's linked to a missing boy that no one has ever claimed.
He was right, those ears, those eyes were like piercing through your damn soul.
The moment she was caught poisoning her husband. Not once, not twice, but multiple times. It all started when U.S. Air Force employee Roby Johnson was stationed in Germany back in March of 2023. With him was his wife, Melody Johnson, who had filed for divorce, but they still lived together while it was being finalized. He began noticing that his morning cup of coffee was tasting a bit weird, but continued on drinking it for around 3 weeks. He eventually decided to test it with a pool test strip, and it showed high levels of chlorine. That is when he launched his own internal investigation and caught her in the act. She was caught multiple times on video pouring bleach into his coffee maker. Now, he didn't want to raise any alarms in Germany, so he waited, kept pretending to drink the coffee until they were back in Arizona in June. While back at the Air Force Base, he recorded her doing it yet again and reported it to police. Now, they told him the evidence wasn't quite clear enough, so he decided to enhance his setup. More and better cameras disguised as smoke alarms, which caught her clear as day.
4K.
She was arrested, and he fully believes that she was out to get his life insurance money. Imagine living with someone for months knowing that they are actively trying to kill you.
Horrifying urban...
That is chilling, man. Like I said, she already filed for divorce and stuff like that, but... And they showed the video the first time, they said they get more clear evidence. I'll be like, what the hell? Like, what's more clear than that? Like you said, you're literally living with somebody for months and they trying to take you off the board. For some money, man. Root of all evil.
Urban Legends Part 1. This, my friends, is La Llorona, also known as the Weeping Woman. She's the frightening figure of a heartbroken woman who drowned her kids in a river and is now damned for eternity to find their bodies. If you hear her cry, it's already too late.
That's a creepy, scary story. It's an edit, man. Call it like we see it, bro. Call out any edits that you see.
Times when companies dissed others, Part 3. In 2001, Coca-Cola announced that they sold 4 more times than Pepsi. So Pepsi, being salty, decided to create this whole ad of a boy going to a vending machine, getting 2 Cokes from the vending machine, just so he can stand on the cans and get a Pepsi.
Oh.
They are honestly ruthless for this. Next, in 2014, Mercedes made a commercial showing how a chicken can keep their head still while their bodies move, saying Mercedes can do the same thing with their car stability. However, the car company Jaguar saw this and decided to make almost the exact same commercial.
Word for word, bar for bar, bro. You copied my whole flow.
But at the end, a Jaguar straight up destroys the chicken. That's cruel.
This gymnast forgets to salute to the judges, and they get very butthurt about that. So the gymnast lands it well, but now is the point where he should salute to the judges, but he forgets that. And this is what the judges do. As you can see, they took it really personally. Do you think he can be forgiven?
2024,
He
just
should.
not even crazier, Part 16. Firstly, a Canadian man who was about to go on an upcoming camping trip used Google Maps to see the area that he was going to be camping. Well, while on Google Maps, the man discovered this, and experts believe that the man just discovered a very possible ancient meteor impact while on Google Maps. The fact that he found this using Google Maps is wild. Next, also in Canada, a woman who was at a barbecue started playing with these water guns with a child. Well, while playing with the water guns, she accidentally sprayed the neighbor who was cutting grass next door. Well, the man got angry and called the police, and somehow the woman was charged with assault with a weapon. Finally, a 57-year-old man was about to have burgers when the burgers were frozen together. So he got a kitchen knife to separate the burgers, but while he tried to separate them, he accidentally stabbed himself and the man unfortunately passed away. R.I.P. This is horrible.
Whatever you do, do not look up what this guy did. Now, you may know this guy, TJ Lane. He did a horrific school shooting back in 2012. You probably don't know what then happened when he went to court. For one, you could see him with little to no remorse in the court, smirking, smiling, along with a shirt he was wearing which had the word killer written on it. His lawyer then whispered to him to basically make a statement and tell him what to say. When TJ then said something you would never imagine after doing this, he basically said, "This hand that unalived your families now pleasures to the memory." I can't show the video of this for obvious reasons and I can't talk too much about it on here, but the full video is on my YouTube, link in my bio. But what this guy did is absolutely horrific, and the fact he then went and did that in court as well, like, what is wrong with people?
People have no remorse, man. I always say they're the most dangerous people alive, man. You have to have remorse for your actions if you do something that horrific. That's definitely netted. You can see it right there.
It is almost unbelievable, but the world's first VR headset that literally kills you if you die in the game has just been created. The man who invented it, Palmer Luckey, is a leader in VR, a government contractor, and the creator of Meta's Oculus headset. So this is the real deal. The headset is hooked up to 3 explosive charge modules that sit above the screen. The charges are aimed directly at the user's forebrain, and should they go off, would obliterate the head of the user. He said he created it because only the threat of serious consequences can make the game feel real to you and every other person in the game. He even says that he wants to work on an anti-tampering model that cannot be removed or destroyed. So if you decide to put it on, there is no bloody going back. Thankfully, this headset is not commercially available yet.
Who wants a headset that can just freaking fry your brain, man? People, I'm telling you, man, this technology, they're taking it like a step too far, bro. Technology is supposed to be used to help to improve life, not take it away. And I'm trying to put an anti-tampering on so you can't even take it off. Like, he really trying to lock you into that. Who getting that VR? Cause I sure as hell ain't.
So why do these places make you feel that way? These are called liminal spaces. They are literally the threshold between two realities. For example, a rest stop is a place between where you started and where you're going. These places are not meant for you to stay in very long. So you feel a sensation of reality shifting when you stay in those places for longer than you normally would. The same goes for schools during summer break or laundromats at night, and I think you got my point.
Rest stops, man. It's a place between dimensions now?
How to summon the Feeling Man. It is said that if the Feeling Man finds you worthy, he'll grant you a wish. If deemed unworthy, he'll curse you with depression and a lot more. To summon the Feeling Man, we'll have to get a mirror. The mirror will be neat to place on the floor in an empty room. Make sure you're seeing the reflection of the feeling in the mirror when placed on the floor. With a lamp or candle, you say the word, "Feeling Man, I am worthy," 20 times. The Feeling Man will eventually appear in the mirror. You look into the mirror and you say, "Feeling Man, I am ready for my wish." You wait for a voice that says, "Be careful, if the Feeling Man finds you unworthy, your face will look like this in the mirror, disoriented." Should I summon the Feeling Man tonight on live?
Yeah, no, I don't play with Ouija boards. I don't do none of those summoning games.
Does it
Keep that bad energy
make you feel
away.
uncomfortable? Or something like this. This phenomenon is known as the uncanny valley. Introduced by Masahiro Mori in the 1970s, the uncanny valley refers to a phenomenon where our brains can register that something is very close to human, but we're also aware that something's not quite right. It's the in-between, where we can process that something looks like a person, but it's not a person, and it causes feelings of distress. Believed to be an evolutionary mechanism, which is also not exclusive to just humans, the uncanny valley is where we perceive these things to be a threat or not of us, and it can cause feelings of panic. One of the most well-known modern examples of this was actually an early test screening of Shrek in 2000, where Fiona was rendered as very hyper-realistic. So realistic that it surpassed the threshold of comfort in cartoon and moved into the uncanny valley. The children actually became so panicked at this screening, they were reported to be crying at the movie anytime she came on the screen. The entire film had to be halted and she was re-rendered. I'm not sure if this was the actual earliest version of Fiona that made it to the screening, but to put this in context, the one that made it to worldwide theaters is right above. But I did happen to find this monster from some of the early test footage of Shrek. The uncanny valley is still a widely unstudied phenomenon, but it continues to become more and more pervasive in entertainment as well as our modern animation.
Uncanny valley. It's a couple of those faces. I'm like, yeah.
Disturbing facts you
Damn it.
didn't want to hear, part 2. Many doctors say that the most common last words they hear are, "I don't feel so good." Most laugh tracks you hear in TV shows were recorded in the 1950s, meaning that the people you hear laughing are probably dead. During the French Revolution, it was said that the guillotine had to be used multiple times to get the job done. The reason that planes shut off their lights right before they land is so that passengers' eyes can adjust to the dark just in case there's a crash. This is so if the power goes out during the crash landing, they can better find an escape route.
I never knew that, bro.
One of the scariest urban legends that actually turned out to be true. In the 1970s in Long Beach, California, there was an amusement park called the Pike Amusement, and inside this park was this creepy little fun house called Life in the Dark.
Okay.
Inside of Life in the Dark were a bunch of mannequins, and this urban legend started circulating around that all of them were fake except to one. There was just something about this mannequin that turned people away. They said it was a little too human, and they even said that the area around it was just stanky. So flashing forward to a few years later, a TV crew comes in to film The $6 Million Man, and they decide to use Laugh in the Dark as one of their sets. So the director's trying to get the perfect shot, and this one mannequin that's been in question is in the shot, but he's just not liking how it's looking with it in it. So he asked one of the crew members to move it. So this crew member goes over, and when he tries to move the mannequin, its arm falls off. Inside is human bone. It's actually a mummified body. The body belonged to Elmer McCurdy, who was dubbed the bandit who wouldn't give up. He was an outlaw who was robbing a train in Oklahoma in 1911 when he was taken out by the police. His body was on display at an Oklahoma funeral home, but ownership changed and he got shifted around and around and around until he finally ended up at the Pike Amusement, and everyone thought he was fake until he was finally positively ID'd in 1976.
This is why you
That's
should never
insane.
read someone else's diary. Once there was a girl named Samantha who took her friends to her dad's lake house because her dad grew up in the area and actually named the lake after her, Lake Samantha. But as soon as her friends arrived, they noticed something strange. There was a doll hanging on every door in all the houses in town. Samantha explained it's because of a local urban legend. Years ago, a man escaped from an insane asylum nearby, unalived his entire family, then disappeared. Since then, people would go missing around the same time every year, so the dolls were used for protection. But after spending a day by the lake, Samantha and her friends found an old diary, half buried in the dirt near an abandoned house. They opened it up and saw multiple entries dating back to the 80s. But the most terrifying part was the last entry dated August 13, 2010. And it said, "I'm so proud of my daughter. She doesn't hear the voices and she has a lot of friends. Sometimes I take her to these woods. I even named the lake after her." That's when they all heard the sound of twigs snapping behind them. And when they turned around, they saw Samantha's father, saying, "You weren't supposed to find that. Follow for more."
Records that will never be broken again. Number 1, the woman with the most children. Back in the 1800s, a Russian woman named Miscellaneous gave birth to 69 total children.
God
she
damn.
had 16 pairs of twins, 7 triplets, and 4 quadruplets. And no one has come close to matching that number since. Number 2, the most nuclear explosions ever survived. This is Tsutomu Namaguchi. He has survived 2 different nuclear explosions. Tsutomu was on a business trip when the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. After miraculously surviving that explosion, he returned to his hometown of Nagasaki just in time to witness the second atomic bombing. But again, he miraculously survived and lived till the age of 93.
Do you know how lucky you have to be to survive 2 of those events in history? Yeah, something on his side. Because he survived 2 of them. That's insane. And those women who were those kids, I don't think that record's probably ever going to be broken. 69? What the hell?
Are the creepiest YouTube channels to ever exist?
Talk about it.
Part 1. Number 1, Meat Sleep. Meat Sleep began posting in 2015 and has since then stopped posting, but that still doesn't change the fact that its horrifying videos and very disturbing history linked to the channel gives it a spot on this list. Meat Sleep then removed the several videos it had on the channel even after garnering over 16,000 subscribers, but that still doesn't change the fact that some people saw some very terrible things. Most of the channel consisted of videos that seemed to be of people being stalked, but there was one video in particular that people pointed out that really just got under their skin. There was one video on the channel titled Meat Pig, which in cannibals' terms is actually human meat. Many people believe that the creator behind these videos is secretly a murderer and a cannibal as well. I assume the creator of this channel is still unknown, but who knows, they may be in jail.
And they was posting on YouTube and getting away with it? That was evidence right there. Man. Meat Sleep. First time hearing about that, man. Top in with us, you're gonna learn. Just edit.
This
All them
teenager
out.
killed his mom over a bad grade. This is 15-year-old Gregory Ramos. And on November 2nd, 2018, Gregory Ramos got into a fight with his mother, Gail Clevenger. The fight started over his bad school grades, which resulted in him strangling his own mother to death. Gregory then proceeded to call 2 of his friends to help him bury her body and stage a robbery at his house. Gregory buried her body under a church fire pit and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Now, what I'm about to show you is Gregory explaining exactly how he committed the murder, and it's absolutely disturbing, because keep in mind, this was his own mother.
Whatever. Alright, I'll tell you what happened. Alright, so I got home, I got an argument with my mom, she slapped me across the face, she began to hit me, she started beating me, I didn't like it, so I strangled her to death. Alright? I put her in a wheelbarrow, I put her in my car, I took the car, I had a mental breakdown where I almost committed suicide 3 times, I drove around Daytona, I dropped the wheelbarrow in some random ass location, and I drove back to the church, I began to dig a hole. I dig a hole right under the fucking fire pit. I dug a pretty deep hole, pretty deep. Yeah, deep enough to put a body in.
No remorse.
All this time, my mom was decomposing body. I dragged it from my car to the fire pit. In which case, I tried to cut the wedding ring off her finger because I wanted to pawn it, but I couldn't because I didn't have a knife strong enough to cut bones. Oh well, whatever. Anyways, so I dug that hole, threw her body in there, filled back in, made it look all nice and natural, dumped my clothes, and then I went home.
I'm being serious. If you
Do
ever
not
see
care.
this at the beach, do not touch it. And if it ever latches onto you like this, get help immediately. Before you do anything else, favorite this video because this could actually save your life one day.
What
Now,
is
at
that?
first glance, like me, you would think this is an alien creature from the deepest corners of hell. Whereas in fact, this is actually a detached octopus limb. Now, yes, if an octopus's arm becomes disconnected from its body, it does have the ability to live on for a short period of time by itself, explaining why it's able to move like a creature straight out of an alien movie. This, of course, is absolutely horrifying and a brand new conversation to bring up with your therapist if you saw this going about its business on the beach. Now, the suction power of this single arm would be incredibly difficult to remove on your own, because if you didn't know, one suction cup from an octopus can hold up to 35 pounds. And I am talking Great British. And on top of that, hurts. Like, really badly. Now, this most likely wouldn't make this gentleman a Twitter hashtag. However, I wouldn't like to imagine if this was stuck on a more sensitive part of the body. Like the neck. So here's the best case scenario. You see it, you avoid it, you survive. I've said this to literally anyone you know because they might need this video one day.
In 2010.
That's crazy, bro. I didn't even know freaking an octopus, I guess arm or leg had that much freaking suction power, bro. So if you see it, follow his advice, turn away, bro. Don't try to attach that onto your body, man. We learn it.
And an avid caver named Jeff decided to go to Madagascar to explore a natural cave shaft he had discovered years earlier. He arrived in country. Jeff enters the cave when he notices something out of the corner of his eye, and he sees thousands of black widow spiders trying to escape the light. As much as Jeff wanted to stop right there and go right back up to the surface, he couldn't. He needed technical gear, and his technical gear was packed in his backpack, and so he would have to descend to the bottom, then take his pack off, get the gear out, and go back up. He began his slow, awful descent into this cave filled with spiders. He'd bump into the wall, he'd hear them scatter all over the walls, and then he saw them climbing on his sleeve, he saw them on the rope. He finally gets to the bottom, and he opens it up. Spiders crawl out of his bag, carefully reaches in and pulls out his technical gear, throws it up, and he begins making his way back up. Once he gets to the surface, the first thing he does is he strips all of his clothing off to get all the spiders off of his clothing. Luckily, he doesn't get bent. He takes his notebook out, and he scratches off the title he had given this cave from the last time he was here, which was the Crooked Tube. He scratches that up, and on top of it, he writes, "The Entrance to Hell."
Things we all believed as kids. For some reason, I thought that if I swallowed watermelon seeds, an entire tree would grow inside of me. Now at night, if you didn't start running to your room as soon as you turned off the lights, the monster that was somehow chasing you would catch you and eat you. A blanket could literally protect us from anything, and I would still argue that my blanket is a modern-day shield. My parents used to tell me if I crossed my eyes for long enough, my eyes would stay stuck that way forever.
Yep, those were like myths as the kids.
Things you
Yeah,
can't
debunked.
unsee. The KFC logo looks like Colonel Sanders has a tiny body. Now I can never unsee it. Have you ever noticed that the letter G is simply a spinning arrow? Those drowning signs at the beach look very similar to LOL. There's nothing funny about drowning. The Dodge Viper logo looks like Daffy Duck upside down. Ever noticed how water fountain drains look like a Wi-Fi logo? This sign for a German school looks a bit suspicious. Did you know there's a bear hidden inside the Toblerone logo? Did you ever notice Nelson from The Simpsons is simply a young Barney? And in the 7-Eleven logo, only the N is in lowercase. The Hunger Games Mockingjay logo looks very similar to Johnny Bravo. And I bet you never realized the Big Bang Theory's Dexter's Laboratory grown up. Also, the collar on the Wendy's girl says Mom. Homer Simpson has MG sneaked onto him. These are the initials of Matt Groening, The Simpsons creator.
I never realized.
And finally, the Adidas logo kind of looks like a sinking ship.
Damn, all these hidden logos and stuff, bro. They were right in front of our eyes and we never even knew. It goes to make you think, man. What other logos have hidden messages behind it? The more you know. That's the edit. We're calling them out.
Scary facts that will blow your mind. Part 1. The middle of nowhere is an actual place within New Mexico. The legend goes that an elderly couple lived out there with their dog and witnessed many strange and bizarre things. One night, they reported seeing a strange creature that they identified as a skinwalker. After reporting this to the police, the family had vanished under strange circumstances. Their dog, however, was left behind. This is the story that Courage the Cowardly Dog was based off of. Like and follow for more.
And all jokes in kids' cartoons you probably didn't notice.
Hey, cutie! Wanna pollinate with a real bug? Oh, lady, cut like lava. Yeah.
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, flyboy? Huh?
Yikes! She's a god!
What would happen
What
if
the
he
heck?
didn't have a shower for 60 years? This is the world's dirtiest man, and he was born in 1928 in Iran, and apparently he hasn't taken a shower in 60 years, because he says he's scared of water and he thinks having a shower could kill him. And because he hasn't showered for so long, his immune system has gotten used to his body being this dirty. But over the years, people from other town have challenged him to have a shower in exchange for money, and he still tells them that he's so scared of it. So they offered him even more money, so he took it. But a few days after taking a shower, he died, because apparently his immune system was not used to him being so clean, which caused his body to go into extreme shock and pain. And before he died, he described the pain as a sharp burning sensation. What do you think caused this?
He really passed away because he took a shower? One of the most bizarre cases we've seen yet, Seekers.
A bad guy.
Bermuda Triangle? Yeah, that's another one. Antarctica. We ain't going to those places, man. That's off the bucket list. There's this guy that's at it. Call him like we see it.
A time traveler just took a lie detector test and passed it. I'm about to share with you all of his predictions for the upcoming future. So quickly make sure to favorite this video so we can come back to it to see if he was right. Let's start off with August of 2028, where aliens are meant to land here on Earth.
Yes, it is true that aliens did land on Earth in August 2028.
In fact, he states that we already know about the existence of aliens before this, as it becomes public knowledge. What? Next up, in the year 2030, the world will be governed under one law. This actually isn't a bad one. All of Earth's countries converge into one super nation.
In 2030, all of the world's countries converge into one super nation.
Next up, he goes on to say he has a chip inside of him. In fact, all humans from 2045 have this. And it has a name. Watch this.
I do have an implanted chip in my hand known as the One.
He claims it'll be rolled out to the public in 2029. It's a good thing no one's working on this, right? But there's even more predictions, and as I said, he was on a lie detector machine, in which every single answer came out true. In fact, even the lie detector machine guy said that he answered very quickly and very confidently. So it leads me to ask you this, is it all real? Now do me a favor, send this to literally anyone you know, because your friends need to see this.
For after animals growing up, this is what a baby white tiger looks like. They're born blind and only weigh 2 to 3 pounds, but they soon turn into this. Adult white tigers are ferocious and dangerous. They have a bite force of 1050 psi. To put that in perspective, a human's bite force is 162.
Damn.
They also grow razor-sharp teeth. This is what a baby Alaskan Malamute looks like. They're born with blue eyes and are tiny, fluffy, and cute. But when they grow up, they look like this. They become powerful and fierce, and their blue eyes change to brown, amber, or hazel. This is what a baby salamander looks like. They are tiny at only 2.5 centimeters in length, but when they grow older, they turn massive. Their skin turns thick and scaly. They also live for a very long time. sometimes 80 years or more. This is what a baby crocodile looks like. They're very cute and tiny at only 20 centimeters, but they're not so cute when they grow up. They become one of the most aggressive animals known to man, and can weigh a mind-blowing 2,200 pounds. This is what a baby pit bull looks like. They're very cute with oversized eyes and ears. But when they get older, they become very muscular.
Damn.
If not raised well, these can be very dangerous, which is why pit bulls are banned in over 10 countries.
What you're about to see is intense. What you just saw is the United States Coast Guard raiding a high-speed submarine in the Eastern Pacific Ocean moving more than 17,000 pounds of cocaine. On June 18th, 2019, a Coast Guard surveillance aircraft tracked and intercepted the drug-filled narco-sub hundreds of miles off the Colombian-Ecuadorian coastline. The video shows a member of the Coast Guard riding on top of the speeding submarine.
Oh, what the hell?
He then starts pounding on the hatch and demanding it to come to a stop. 3 other Coast Guard members then jump ship and board the 40-foot-long submarine. The video then continues, and you see the presumed trafficker emerging from the submarine hatch with his hands up, surrender. And in total, 5 alleged smugglers were seized on board the vessel and were handed over for prosecution by the United States Drug Enforcement Administration.
Are these your friends, the police?
Now, just watch the full encounter unfold. It's honestly something straight out of a video game.
Okay. Did he have to like jump onto the sub?
That's gonna be hard to get on.
Is he speaking like another language too? Oh yeah, he definitely jumped. This is something like out of a movie scene. Whew.
These criminals survive long enough to have that justice served.
Stay away from those dolls.
Country, they decided that these are the top 21 most hated foods in the world. Coming in at number 21 is Brussels sprouts.
Really?
Science were born to innately reject bitter foods. I couldn't agree more. At number 20 is cantaloupe. I don't agree with this at all. I love cantaloupe. Do I like it as much as watermelon, dragon fruit? No, but it definitely should not be on this list. At number 19 is pickles. I personally love pickles, but a lot of people voted them on the list because they're obnoxious shape. Also, people don't like their sour smell and annoying crunch. At number 18 is black licorice. Definitely.
Yep.
Compared to red licorice or other candy, yeah, it needs to be on that list. At number 17, you guessed it, canned tuna. Tuna salad was actually labeled as Atlanta, Georgia's #1 most hated food. At number 16 is candy corn.
Candy corn.
I love it so much, I do not understand that. At number 15 is Spam. I just don't understand the hype behind the canned meat. At number 14 is mayonnaise. I actually have a traumatic childhood experience with mayonnaise, so I would put this at number 1 on my list. At number 13 is ginger, based off of its smell. I actually love ginger, and when I'm sick, I make a hot honey lemon ginger tea. It's the way to go. At number 12 is liver. Do I even need to say more?
Yeah, no.
At number 11 is pineapple pizza. If you're somebody that likes pineapple on your pizza, jail.
Not me.
Just go. Jail. Now for the top 10, bologna. I used to love bologna as a kid, and then I had it like 20,000 times. I haven't had it in like literally 25 years. Number 9 is circus peanuts. Totally disagree with that. I love these things so much. Number 8 is eggplants. Doesn't taste like eggs at all and super bitter. Definitely should be on the list. Number 7 is bitter gourd. I've personally never had it before, but I guess it has good medicinal traits. It was voted as one of the most hated foods in China.
Okay.
Number 6 is the durian fruit. Supposedly it doesn't taste bad, but the smell is absolutely awful. And for our top 5 comes tomatoes.
Tomatoes?
I've tried so hard to like tomatoes, the different textures, I just can't get with it. Number 4 is mushrooms. This one blew me away because I love mushrooms on pizza, by themselves, as a meat substitute, but I guess the rest of the world doesn't think so. Number 3 is cilantro. Now there's actually a genetic reason behind this. If you ask a room of 100 people if they like cilantro, 14% of them will say it tastes like soap. At number 2 is olives. A lot of people think they have a very bitter, distinct flavor, and some people say they're an acquired taste. And at number 1 on the list, you guessed it, beets.
Beets?
33% of the world said they hated beets because of their earthy flavor. Let me know in the comments which food is your least favorite and which ones you thought should have been on the list.
Arius was born with a particular red birthmark across his forehead. As soon as he could speak, he explained to his parents that he had already lived a past life as another man, claiming he was murdered with an axe by his own neighbor. It turns out a man in their village had gone missing years earlier and the neighbor was the prime suspect. So Arius and his parents went to the neighbor's house to find out the truth. When the neighbor opened the door, he turned white as a ghost, claiming he was innocent. But Arius demanded the neighbor to come with them as he knew where his own body was buried. Arius led them miles from the village to a specific spot under a tree and they started digging, but you won't believe what they found underneath. They found a skull that was cracked exactly where Arius's birthmark was. Everyone was shocked and the neighbor was later arrested and sentenced to death.
We believe in reincarnation seekers? He caught that neighbor like red-handed. You heard when he said he called him, when he opened the door, he looked like he saw a damn ghost. And he said from a past life. That's one of the first cases I've heard of that. He can retain a memory from a past life. We heard about reincarnation before, but that's actually scary, man. That's proof right there. What do you guys think?
This Wisconsin elementary school teacher is being accused of having an inappropriate relationship with an 11-year-old boy.
Always the teachers.
24-year-old Madison Bergman has been arrested for making out with one of her 5th grade students only 3 months before her wedding. This came to light really recently after the boy's mother overheard him talking to his teacher on the phone. So obviously she confiscated his phone and read his text messages where he was discussing several encounters with his teacher where they were having inappropriate encounters during lunchtime or after school. Also in those texts, this adult told an 11-year-old boy how much she enjoyed him touching her. They also exchanged handwritten notes where she told him that she loved him more than anyone else in the world. Madison actually got the 11-year-old's phone number on a ski trip that she was invited on by the boy's parents. And that trip was actually during the same month that Madison got engaged to her boyfriend. They were said to be married this July, less than 3 months before she was arrested for cheating with a literal child. Obviously, the wedding is off. Madison has been barred from attending any school events, being on any school property, reaching out to any students, parents, or staff. This case is still ongoing, and Madison Bergman will appear in court on May 30th.
The most uncomfortable products ever designed. Firstly, this Cinderella car seat was designed to make children quieter in the car, and it looks normal when there's a small child in it. But as they get older, you have to adjust the headrest. And to do that, it ends up stretching her neck like this. This Minion shampoo bottle looks like it would be good for kids. But for the strawberry scented one, they decided to make it bright red. So it looks like blood is coming out of his eyes. Next, a Spider-Man tissue box sounds like a good idea, and we all know the main Spider-Man pose. But whoever decided to put that on a Kleenex box clearly didn't think it through, because it looks like you're pulling tissues out of Spider-Man's butt. Lastly, in the children's hospital, they tried making a pathway that looks like a red ribbon. But instead, it looks like a path left by someone dragging a bloody body.
They do not be thinking these designs through, man. These design flaws, or is it really hidden messaging, man, that we just see with our eyes, but we just throwing it off, man, as, oh, it was just a mistake, man. We've seen this before in these clips, bro. There's always a message behind any picture or video. You gotta pay attention. Edit. We can spot out the edits now, man. We experts at this, seekers. I need you guys to call out the edits with me, man, down below.
Gruesome Facts You Didn't Know, Part 283. Looking for a snack? A human tooth contains about 36 calories. In 2011, the manchineel tree was given the title of the deadliest tree in the entire world by the Guinness Book of World Records.
Why?
The fruit that grows on the tree is highly toxic, as well as the sap from the leaves and stems. It is highly advised not to stand underneath one when it is raining, as the dripping water can transfer the toxins, resulting in painful blistering of the skin. A Chinese naval officer blew up an entire naval ship, killing 134 men because of a girl. On March 9th of 1978, a Chinese destroyer ship was rocked by a massive explosion while it was docked. More than 3,000 tons exploded in the water, which lasted almost 2 hours. China first believed it to be the work of Vietnam, but after a lengthy 6-month investigation, they found that the cause of the explosion was from one of their own naval officers. The naval officer named Lai was responsible for the warehouse that stored mines and depth charges. Before he enlisted in the military, he broke off a marriage with a woman he felt was unworthy of him. The girl he abandoned was so distraught that she took her own life, and her parents believed that he murdered her. When the army got wind of the incident, they revoked his position and banished him back to his hometown. But they needed him for a mission, so he wasn't immediately disbanded. But he did greatly fear the ridicule and hate he would get going back to his hometown. It is reported that he locked himself in the Arsenal warehouse and detonated one of the depth charges.
We have to talk about this Venezuelan stalking case. This is Rebecca Garcia, a 32-year-old Venezuelan woman who's seen here just moments after she was caught hiding out in her victim's apartment building. And this week's podcast episode is all about her 7-year reign of terror. Here's a video of that moment where she jumps on the car of a woman that she's been stalking for 7 years named Coco.
Damn.
Fortunately, Venezuelan police told Coco, who's hiding out in this car, that there were no laws to protect women from harassment from other women, so she's never been able to get help. Though over the past 7 years, she has all these videos of Rebecca showing up to her house, harassing her, and then refusing to leave. One time she even woke up to see that Rebecca had come to her apartment in the middle of the night and left messages for her in pink chalk all over the street. And if that wasn't bad enough, Coco eventually found that Rebecca had self-published a book online full of violent fantasies, all about stuff that she wanted to do to her victims, like keep them in windowless rooms without food or water for days on end. So many women in Venezuela have come forward with their stories of Rebecca's harassment that the police finally decided to do something about it. Obviously, there is a lot more to the story, including more victim testimony, so you should definitely check out this episode.
That's crazy, man, that there is no laws put in place, man, you know, in different parts of the world, but that she had to go through that, like a literal start. Like, imagine, like, trying to go live your life, like, every single day, but you can't, because once you go outside, this person that's stalking, harassing you is just there all day, but there's nothing the law can do about it. Couldn't live like that. Can't.
According to reports I found online, George Mubayed, who ran the account HairZone700, has recently been arrested for being a pedophile. There are a bunch of sources you can go to find this information online, but this is one of them. So according to these articles and these investigations, George was using his TikTok account to lure minors into his shop. And this was a ring. He was one of the heads of the ring. According to the reports, there were other members that were on TikTok that would actively work to get children into the shop. And they would all then participate in grapes against the children, which would be recorded, filmed, photos would be taken, and these photos would then be sold and posted on the dark web for other pedophiles to enjoy. Now, I did notice that the HairZone700 TikTok account is gone, which I thought was strange because it had 700,000 followers, so there has to be some truth to all of this.
That many?
But they do have a Facebook page. I don't know if this is something new or what. And disturbingly, there are photos and videos that are being posted. This one was just posted 2 or 3 days ago, showing the accused man with a bunch of different children. Now, I don't know if these are re-uploads of content or what's going on with all of this, but these are really serious, staggering, disturbing accusations. And it does make sense. I mean, these videos are goofy, they're humorous, they're engineered to entertain children. So I'm going to keep you guys updated on this situation, because if you go read the articles, it's especially disturbing. And yeah, I'm going to keep on top of this.
What's the damn whole TikTok ring, man? Like I said, there's good and bad with everything. That's definitely bad right there.
Here's something about SpongeBob you probably didn't know. But you know how they live underwater, yet there's a whole beach for no reason?
Yeah,
we were all like, how is there water underwater? Well, there's actually such a thing as underwater lakes and rivers. In places like the Gulf of Mexico, seawater will often rise through a thick layer of salt that you'll often find at the seafloor. The rising water dissolves the salt layer, causing it to collapse, all while forming a depression. And of course, the dissolved salt makes the water in the depression denser than the seawater surrounding it, which is how you can end up with a river or lake in the ocean. Some of these underwater rivers can actually be a few miles long. And underwater rivers, which are really just a mixture of saltwater and hydrogen sulfide, behave and flow as normal rivers. Now here's where I f**k you up. These underwater brine pools are 3 to 8 times saltier than the seawater around it, which is why animals like this eel that get too close can end up getting toxic shock while getting trapped inside. So in a weird way, it's actually possible for underwater animals to drown inside these brine pools. This eel got lucky, but normally most animals that mess around and get that close don't come out alive. Moral of this video, Hillenburg was a f***ing genius.
Don't go to Goo Lagoon or SpongeBob, man. That sounds like a whole death trap.
These two have been holding hands since 1888. In 1842, Colonel Van Gorkum married Josephina Van Efferden, and their union was highly controversial, as he was Protestant and she was Catholic. When he passed away in 1880, he was buried in the Protestant section of the Roermond Cemetery. She knew upon her death she would be buried in the Catholic section of the cemetery, so she made her wishes very clear. She did not want to be buried in her family's tomb. She wanted to be buried as close to her husband as possible. Separated by a wall and religion, their hands have been interlocked in eternal bliss for over 100 years. A grudge taken to the grave. These are the graves of Salvatore Carril and his wife Tibercia. They are located in the Recoleta Cemetery in Buenos Aires. And you might notice they aren't facing each other. Salvador was a wealthy man, known for political and academic success, as well as becoming the first vice president of Argentina. And his wife loved to shop, opening up credits in dozens of stores across the city under his name, and he warned her to stop. Eventually he had enough, and he posted in several local newspapers that he would no longer honor any credits under his name, and that he was not responsible for his wife's death. As you can imagine, she wasn't very happy, and the couple separated and never spoke again. When she died 15 years after her estranged husband, she requested that her bust be facing away from him, as she never wanted to see him again.
Dang, man, even back in the day, money, man, is the root of all the evil, bro. Cause of all the problems, man, even back in the day. Goes to show you.
When a doctor's decapitated head was discovered, police were horrified at the killer's identity. It was the 2nd of October 2022 in Westminster, Maryland. The wife of Dr. Magambe Pansuria was concerned. She phoned police to tell them there was absolutely no sign of her husband at home. There was, however, disturbing signs of a struggle. She told police there was blood all around the home. There was also a rug that had suspiciously gone missing from the laundry room. Police arrived at the property but wouldn't have to wait long until they heard devastating news. While officers scoured the property, dispatchers had another call. This time it was from a member of the public. The distressed caller was on Medford Road and reported a body lying at the side of the road. The body was dismembered and wrapped in a rug that matched the one that had gone missing from the house. Meanwhile, investigators found blood at the property in the garage and the bathroom. Blood was also found on the road nearby. Then, when the doctor's son, Ravi, came home, more shocking discoveries. He had come back in the family truck, which also contained blood and human tissue. Ravi himself was also found in clothing that had blood on it, and he was found in possession of a bloody hatchet. The blood was ultimately determined to be his father's. Just days later, investigators found his dad's head and hands in a creek. An autopsy confirmed that the victim had been stabbed 45 times. He suffered blunt force injuries to the head. Ravi was ultimately convicted of first-degree murder and was given life in prison without the possibility of parole. A motive for the crime is unknown. The victim was said to be a funny and generous man who loved gardening and had a real ability to connect with others.
This is maybe the scariest.
Man, that'd be your whole family, man. These cases, bro, would be opening my eyes. Like, how sometimes, man, you can't trust nobody in this world except for you. It's the sad truth, but that's the reality we live in, man. Like, we still don't even know the motive behind it, but to do that to your own father, that's chilling, man.
Biggest marketing campaign I've ever seen for a horror movie. And it's full of terrifying Easter eggs that are freaking viewers out. So on January 5th, Neon dropped a 30-second clip out of nowhere that just features a man calling 911. He says, "It's my daughter, I gotta be quiet, and that's not my daughter." Then it cuts to this chilling image, and then we get this code with no other context. People don't even know what movie this is for at this point. And in general, I cover a lot of dark pop culture stuff, so follow along if you're interested. Then a week later, we get another clip. Again, we have no context for what this is for, but it features someone unearthing something. But it's what is shown next that is freaking people out. It cuts to and holds on this image, which is kind of giving Valak. And Medical Movie Man realized if you brighten it, it becomes truly the stuff of nightmares. But then we get more code and no movie title. Until we get a trailer where it's revealed the code spells out long legs, the name of the movie. And through that, people realized the codes at the end of the other videos all had satanic messages. One said, "Hail Satan," another said, "Hell awaits," and another pointed to a verse in the Bible that mentions Satan. We've gotten a few more clips from Neon, and one of which includes this poem, which I'm still trying to make sense of. That one also ends with the phrase, "daughter of the seventh she." Some people think this is referring to how the seventh child of a seventh child is important in various occult circles. But mind you, people still don't know what this movie is about at all, other than the marketing materials are probably cursing us, and that Nicolas Cage is in this movie, though we haven't seen him in any of the trailers. Anyways, the movie comes out on July 12th, and it's directed by Osgood Perkins, who is the son of none other than Norman Bates himself.
These are disturbing.
Man, so I'm telling you, man, these freaking movies and TV shows, they like trying to put these hidden messages and trying to put them on the public, so but we just not catching it. Like, they put those messages on just for like a movie trailer, but they put it in code so people couldn't break it down. A movie called Long Legs. It's always in those Hollywood circles, man. They have some, like, some dark energy or dark aura around them. And Nicolas Cage, he's been making a comeback recently in his acting career, so I don't know what to think about that. And he's starring in that movie. It's too many coincidences that I'm seeing right now. I don't like it.
War crimes caught on camera explained, and this is a massive trigger warning. The video that I'm about to explain is pretty disturbing and lasting quite long, coming in at 6 minutes in length. The video isn't an easy watch at all, and some people even believe the video is not real whatsoever. But that hasn't been confirmed or denied. The video appears to be edited together. Some clips are clear and others are blurry. Also, the victim doesn't struggle at all, which is very surprising, especially once you hear about the situation he is in. And besides coughing a couple times, the victim doesn't make any noise at all, even though he is fully conscious. As you play the video, it takes place in a rural location, and you see two men in military gear holding two shovels, standing next to a deep, freshly dug grave. Then you see another two men enter shot, also in military gear, and they are bringing the victim to the grave. Once they get close to the grave, they push the victim into the grave, and the victim's hands are tied behind his back, and he has a bag over his head. After the victim falls into the grave, it's hard to make out, but it's possible the two men holding the shovels next to the grave strike the victim with them. The person filming then gets closer to the scene, and you see the victim lying face first into the grave. He coughs and makes a couple of sounds, but surprisingly doesn't scream once. Two of the men then quickly start shoveling dirt into the grave, while another hops into the grave to duct tape the man's feet together. As the men continue to shovel dirt into the grave, one of them says he's not dead yet. And for the next 6 minutes, the men continue to shovel dirt into the grave until it's completely full. Once the grave has been filled in, a man then stomps the dirt flat before taking a rusty old shovel which he sticks into the ground upside down, and he's using this rusty shovel as a makeshift gravestone.
Buried alive?
He then writes something on the shovel which isn't clear enough to translate, but I would assume it's some sort of insult to the victim or a warning sign to their enemies. Whether the video is real or not is still up for debate, but what's for sure is the video is still extremely awful and disturbing. There's not many worse ways to die than being buried alive. The victim was literally feeling the weight of the earth on him until he suffocated to death. I don't recommend searching for this or watching the video. It's truly just awful.
I never do. I always take his word for it, man, when we see those clips. And I don't need that in my mind. But being buried alive, that's one of the most scariest thing ever.
Bro, I get it. You want to win a game. Make sure that follow button because tomorrow's video is crazy.
Nah,
This man injects his ex-lover with HIV and hepatitis when she leaves him.
horrifying case of Janice Turan. In 1994, Janice went to the doctors because she started to feel ill. There, the doctors told her she was pregnant. But she also learned she tested positive to HIV and hepatitis. So how did this happen to Janice? Janice had a vague idea who was behind it, and that was her ex-boyfriend. See, Janice was actually having an affair with Dr. Richard. He was a married man and he'd been seeing Janice for several years, promising her that he would leave his wife. But of course, he never did. Dr. Richard was also her personal doctor, so she saw him regularly for many things. Now, actual years have gone by and Janice has had enough. She's decided she's going to leave Dr. Richard. She tells him and he goes ballistic. He threatens to release her nude photos if she leaves. And so the affair actually continues. So Janice gets pregnant with her first child. And guess what? It's Dr. Richard's. So he agrees to pay her child support while she has his kid. All whilst promising that he's going to leave his wife and kids, you know, essentially his other family. Now, after tolerating this for a few more years, Janice gets fed up. She gives him an ultimatum. She says, leave your wife or we're ending this affair. Dr. Richard chooses his wife and Janice ends the affair. Now remember, he's also her personal doctor and Janice goes in for vitamin shots every so often. A couple of months after the breakup, Dr. Richard gives Janice a call and says, I'm coming over, you're due for your vitamin shot. This is a little unexpected, but also normal because he gives her vitamin shots. And so he goes over to her house, gives her the shot, and leaves. They literally don't speak again. So Janice tells us the police, and they search Dr. Richard's office, and they find 2 vials of infected blood that he's keeping. He's arrested and charged with attempted murder. He's now serving 50 years in prison. If you want to hear more stories about real-life people, remember to follow.
Last week...
Man, that's why you have to be careful going to these doctors, especially, man, these personal doctors or something. If you go to them, you know them, because once the relationships go sour, goes bad, they can do whatever they want, man, to your body. And that was just a prime example, man. Just coming over for a shot. And but he had all that already set up just because he was pissed because she ended the affair because of a choice that he made. He didn't want to leave his wife. He couldn't take it, and then he went to the next level. Gotta be careful, man.
This video went viral showing a group of teens dumping buckets of trash straight into the ocean. And yesterday, those teenagers finally turned themselves in. They've been identified as 15-year-old Charles R. and 16-year-old Michael K. The group was attending the annual Boca Bash event, where hundreds of people gather on their boats to party. A content creator called Wavy Boats starts filming this specific boat because it was speeding away from the event despite the huge swells, and accidentally captures them committing a crime.
4K.
Captured the teens dumping 2 full trash cans filled with bottles, cans, and plastic cups straight into the ocean. And when they noticed the drone filming them, they started celebrating. Both teens have been charged with 1 count of causing pollution, a 3rd-degree felony. They face a maximum of 5 years in prison and a $50,000 fine if convicted. The chairman of Florida's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission wants the teens to do 500 hours of community service. I think prison time is a little overkill, but if they spend hundreds of hours picking up trash on the beach, they'll probably learn something.
When a man was put in prison for killing his mum, his family should have been safe. Then another member of the family was brutally murdered, but this time by someone else. Just a warning here, this case is absolutely sickening. In 2013, the dismembered body of Tanya Bird was discovered in suitcases in the Bronx. Now, if you haven't already watched my first video on this case, I advise you to go back, watch that video, and then come back to this one. Tanya's son, Basid, was pictured here holding her dismembered head. He was later convicted of her murder and jailed for 25 years to life. However, that was far from the end of the tragedies of this family. While Basid was in prison, another family member was about to be murdered again, but by another family member. Now, as I said in my previous video about this, convicted murderer Basid had a son when he went to jail. This was Zamea Coombs. He was a sweet little boy, aged just 4 in 2017. While his dad was in prison for killing his own mother, Zamea was in custody of his mum, 28-year-old Zara Coombs. She was dating somebody else at this point. She was no longer with Basid. In January 2017, Zara was at home with her little boy when he asked for something to eat. She refused to give him any food, so he took matters into his own hands and went over to the fridge to grab an egg. He then accidentally dropped the egg on the floor. She reportedly became so enraged that she beat him to death with a broomstick. The little boy didn't stand a chance. She then callously put his body in a storage container and carried on with her daily chores, like feeding her little baby. When Zara's boyfriend returned about 20 minutes later, he found the absolutely horrifying scene. He was confronted by the realization that his girlfriend had just murdered her own child. He rang police, they raced to the scene and rushed the little boy to hospital, but it was tragically too late. Shockingly, she was only given 17 years in prison after pleading guilty to manslaughter and endangerment of a child.
This pedophile cop committed one of the worst crimes I've recently read about.
Weird
This is
family.
28-year-old Stephen Kyle Cugini. Stephen previously served with the United States Army, and afterwards he became a police officer in Pennsylvania. So on Monday, April 15th, 2024, after the 13-month-old baby that he was caring for was dropped off at daycare, the employees there noticed that the baby was badly injured, and they reported it to authorities. I'm just going to read this to you. The baby was taken to the hospital then for her broken tibia, fibula, bruising on her face, ears, left foot, ankle, butt, and genitals. And the doctor noted, quote, significant injuries to the genitals. But this was complicated. You see, at first the 13-month-old baby's mother tried to cover for her boyfriend. She claimed that the family's dog had caused the injuries and this was nothing more than diaper rash. However, she would soon make a disturbing admission. On Saturday, April 13th, this woman had let Stephen give her 13-month-old baby girl a bath. Apparently, Stephen told her that he had locked the bathroom door to keep her 5-year-old son out, but soon the mother heard her daughter, quote, cry very loudly and, quote, repeated pounding. She then went and knocked on the door, and it took 10 seconds for Stephen to open up. And when he did open the door, she noticed that his shirt was soaking wet. So, based on the injuries, authorities then arrested Stephen Kyle Cugini, but he immediately tried to claim that all this is a misunderstanding. This was just diaper rash. He said that he had seen the same diaper rash in his 2 own twin daughters. That's right, to add insult to injury in this terrible situation, Stephen actually had 2 kids of his own. This is his LinkedIn profile. You can even see down here, he says, I am also a father of twin daughters. I don't even want to know what happened there. Thankfully, though, Stephen has been arrested and he's expected to face charges for all of this. But it always blows my mind how respectable people like Stephen, a guy who was in the United States Army, a guy who took an oath to protect and serve people of this nation, how someone like that can do such a depraved, disgusting, disturbing thing. And if you want to hear more true crime stories, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife Courtney. It's available on all streaming platforms.
It's crazy. I was always like a person in authority or something like that, man. As a teacher, or somebody who was in the damn army. Like he said, your job was to protect and serve, and he was doing the complete opposite of that. On the head of the mom, she was trying to cover up, man. What was going through people's minds? Like, when you see that caught, man, they just come up with all these sorts of lies, man, just to try to cover it up. It's too late, man. You guys stay with me to the end of the video. You're a true seeker, seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, we're doing daily uploads, so in order for me to continue to do that, I need you guys to hit that like button, subscribe, comment down below, man. Like I said, it just helps the algorithm, so I really appreciate the support. Follow me on my social medias, man, so we can always stay connected on with our community. Guys, gonna catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, seekers.